Accolade made strange looking carts like this, kind of like EA but different. And in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at all 18 published games that they did for the Sega Genesis. They did other games as well under the Ballistic license. I did a separate video for that. So in today's video, we're looking at Accolade, founded in '84 by Alan Miller and Bob Whitehead. They were former Activision founders, and they also previously worked at Atari. Why Accolade? It's higher up alphabetically, and back in the day, that's how people reached out to publishers using phone directories. And so here we go, and boy, there was some good, bad, and ugly. First game is Balls. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Balls was kind of a tech demo in my opinion. You know, it was edgy, it was gritty, it had messages on the screen as you fought. It was really trying to be like a 3D fighter. It was ahead of its time in many different ways, but in a lot of ways it failed miserably. This is a terrible fighting game. I did not like it. I didn't like the control, and I don't think this works. This is an F. As I go on today, you're also going to be able to be ranking it yourself. The list will be below. All right, next up is a wannabe NBA Jam game, and that's Barkley, Shut Up, and Jam. You know, it has Barkley in it with no other official NBA players. They center around kind of the same mechanics of NBA Jam. It doesn't play as good, it doesn't look as good, it doesn't sound as good. You know, this is just definitely Accolade trying to cash in on the hype of NBA Jam and that sports. And I just don't like the control of this. It is 4-player. I think that even the gameplay is just rough. You're not going to play this. But if you're looking for that urban basketball thing, then you can seek out this. This is a D. It's sold enough, and we got Barkley, Shut Up, and Jam 2. And graphically, this game looks a lot better. Now, the previous Barkley, Shut Up, and Jam, it had pretty fast gameplay. I didn't like it. It didn't work for me. I was a huge NBA Jam fan, so going to this series was definitely a step down. I think this game plays worse. It's slower. You know, impressive with graphics, but that doesn't matter if it doesn't play great. And that's what I got when you play this. You can choose a lot of different characters. They're all made up, and then you compete against Sir Charles Barkley. And, you know, I see what this game was trying to do, but I just wasn't into that whatsoever. You know, I'd rather play NBA Jam or another competent basketball game other than this. I don't think as a game it worked for me whatsoever. This is an F. Ugh. Next up is Brett Hull Hockey 95. And I am a fan of hockey games. There's a ton for the Sega Genesis. I've mentioned earlier that a good friend of mine, Square Pegs, he did a ranking of all the hockey games on the Sega Genesis. I actually like this one a little bit better than he did. It has voice commentary from Al Michaels. It is a little bit slow. I did play this a little bit, and I did feel that it did capture and do a decent job of capturing the feel of hockey. Is it an EA quality game? No. Is it even the ESPN quality hockey game? No. But it's a C. I think this is an average hockey game. I don't think it's a bad hockey game. It's a little bit janky with the choppiness of animation, and it is a little bit on the slow side. Oh my goodness. Every now and then you come across a game and it brings back a flood of memories. And this game definitely has memories for me, and that's Bubsy. Claws encounter of the third kind. Oh man. You know, Bubsy reminds me of kind of that platformer, and it's just trying to be more cool than it is. It's trying to be a Sonic, it's trying to be a Mario, and it's neither of those. Graphically, Bubsy looks pretty good. It's got decent color, but that's where it stops, okay? It is too easy to die in this game. Frustrating, irritating, cheap deaths is my comment on this game. Bubsy's okay to control, I think a little bit on the slow side, but everything kills you. There's too many things that can kill you on one hit that takes all the fun of what this game's trying to do. Yes, it advertised all the animation, it advertised 16 megs, and this was advertised everywhere. And enough people bought it where there was a sequel. This game does not work for me. I think it's a bad game. I don't think it works. I don't like the level design. It's trying to be something that it's not. It's not needed. There was way better platformers on the Sega Genesis. Total F. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, gosh. Please, please let there be a good game. Next up is Bubba II. And the good news is that this is actually a better game. They opened it up where you can kind of choose your more levels. There's more variety in this game. There's not as irritating as deaths. I don't like this game though. Like, this is just not a game I'm gonna pick. If you're looking for kind of a below average platformer and haven't played Bubsy or Bubsy 2, check them out and hate them yourselves. But for me, Bubsy 2 just doesn't hit that level of platformer that you saw in countless other Sega Genesis games. And so, while it is a better game than the original, and it is trying to be a competent game, it doesn't work for me. It's a D. I'm a big fan of RC Pro-Am and Championship Pro-Am, which is the remake on the Sega Genesis. And finally, Combat Cars. Combat Cars is an awesome top-down racer. It takes a lot of things from other racing games of the time. It has a split screen, 2-player. I love that. It's a really cool mode. Lots of different tracks and weapons. And this is one of the better Accolade games. Oh my goodness, I was waiting for a better game. And this is one of the better games that they released. There's a couple different packaging variations. There's a Ballistic cardboard box re-release as well. So anyways, Arcade Racer 2. I like those kind of arcade style racing games, and I think there's going to be a lot of fans of that. It's a solid B for me. Played a lot of baseball back in the day and had my favorite baseball games. I did a video on that. And, you know, Accolade really kind of suffered to try to get into that top tier sports games. But they did release some okay baseball games. I'm here to talk about them. And the first one is Hardball 3. Now, what I like about Hardball 3, it has a lot of customization. And so you can even edit like the sport logo. I think that's really cool. There's different batting options. This game works for me. I had a lot of happy memories of playing Hardball 3. I rented it. I don't think it's as good as some of the other baseball games. It's not as good as an EA baseball game. It's not as good as even Sports Talk Baseball would be something that I would choose over this. But I'm going to give this a B. It does have commentary of Al Michaels. It's kind of a little robotic, but I actually like what they did with Hardball 3. It is a faithful port of the PC game. It's a B. They followed it up. Of course they did. Accolade was definitely known to do that, especially if it was making money, and that's Hardball 94. Now, I don't like what they did in Hardball 94. They took out Al Michaels' commentary. It does have actual players in it. It does look better. It has two different modes in it. It has a pitching and hitting, but this game is one that I had less experience with, but I didn't like as much as Hardball 3. I missed that commentary, and so taking that commentary out for me was definitely a grade, and so I'm gonna give this a C. It's not bad. There's a ton in here. You can do a lot in it. It's a competent baseball game, but between Hardball 3 and 94, I'm gonna go with Hardball 3. So far, here's the rankings. The last Hardball game that Accolade made for the Sega Genesis was Hardball 93, and it's kind of a blend of the first game and the second game. They brought back Al Michaels. The commentary is less robotic. There's tons of things in this. And it has a lot of the things the second game had. Different graphics, even better animation. And so it's like a blend of the two. And I think this is one of the better Hardball games. In fact, the best Hardball game. Get 95. This is a solid B for me. It's one of the better sport games Accolade did. Hey, B's pretty good for Accolade. Next up is an overlooked puzzle game. Now, this one's kind of hard to explain, and it's Ishido Way of the Stones. You know, at first I thought this was like a Mahjong game. Well, it's kind of its own thing. 72 stones on a board of 96 squares. You know, this is one of the last box copies for my Sega Genesis collection I got. This is something that was something I overlooked, but I really like what they did in this game. I don't know if this is not going to be a great action puzzle game like Columns or Tetris. This is a game, it's kind of like The best way to explain it is something like solitaire, but different. And so what you do is you take these stones, you have a board, and you move them around. You have to match them by symbol or color. And this is something that definitely is, if you have time to kill and you want to play something different. I don't like the control in this game. You have a cursor and you want to move the cursor over to a stone and then press a button. You don't need to press a button though. You just move the cursor over. And so it's counterintuitive to like what you normally would do in a console game. But if you get past kind of the wonky control, there's different layout designs that you can customize at any time. This is all right. This is a C. If you're looking for a different puzzle game, definitely check it out. I like it that Accolade was trying to diversify their library and release something different. Next up is kind of an average golf game, and it's Jack Nicklaus Power Challenge Golf. This game is just okay for me. There were so many golf games, and you know, they really were. Unfortunately, golf was one of those things where there was so many just games trying to do traditional golf. And if you're into golf, you might like this more and give it a higher grade. You know, for me, it's just golf. It plays like just a golf game. Graphics are okay. The digital character that you actually control is okay. At the end of the day, I'm not going to pick this. I don't think it's above average. You know, it's competent, and you may want to check it out if you're into golf games, but this is just a C. Good news is you might be able to find it cheap. Another sport that had a volley of many different games for it is soccer, and Accolade released 2 for the Sega Genesis. The first one is terrible, and that's Pele. And so I'm a big fan of Pele. I played soccer in high school, and I love the sport and respect the challenge of it. And so Pele's trying to do what other companies did and succeeded. The graphics in Pele are pretty awesome. You have large character sprites. Unfortunately, then you have to move it, and the control is god-awful in this. It takes that isometric view of soccer, but I didn't like playing this game whatsoever. It was hard to control. You know, after playing the countless other successful games, especially soccer games on the Sega Genesis, FIFA, International Superstar Soccer, Sensible Soccer. It has an unusual 2-player option in it too, where you have to like do a tournament and compete one versus the other. This doesn't work, okay? This is not a good soccer game, and it has to do with control. I didn't like the movement. This is an F. Followed up by Pele 2. No, World Cup soccer was a big deal, and there was a ton of soccer games coming out during that time period. And this is a better soccer game. 4-player. Graphics are totally different. I think it controls a little bit better. Is it a good soccer game? No. You're going to play something else. This is a D. The follow-up, it's a D for disappointment. Next up is Summer Challenge. Now, there's a ton of these Olympic-style games, and it's hard to pick like what's a good one and not. I actually like Summer Challenge. It has kind of a variety of different games, everything from kayaking to equestrian to javelin to archery. And does it do a good job? Yeah, I think it's got above average graphics. It even has some 3D in it. Some of the 3D is a little choppy, but I like that you can just jump into one of these different events and train and practice. I like it. I don't like it as better as some of the other games, especially Olympic games on the Sega Genesis, but this is okay. I give this a C. Other cool thing about this game is it's 10 player. You can have 10 players. Pass that controller. Continuing with the disappointment, Accolade tried to do a football game, and that was Unnecessary Roughness 95. And you know, it's hard because I did a video on Madden football games. And, you know, going from a Madden football game to this is definitely trying to be like a discount Madden football. Definitely has that kind of Joe Montana sports talk football feel as well. Your first perspective, the graphics are tiny and it's not great. And then it moves to a zoomed in mode where the graphics are much more improved with choppy animation. They're just, it has real teams and players, it has cards. It really is trying to be a solid football game, and some people might like it. You might be a fan of those 90s football players, and it's all on here, and it has like little stats about them. It has little cards talking about players. but the gameplay is rough. This is a solid D. I didn't like playing it. You know, you're not going to play this, but if you're looking for a different football game, check it out. Next up is kind of a discount Star Raiders game. And so if you played Star Raiders on, you know, Atari 8-bit or Atari 5200 or anything else that was better, there was just a lot of Space Sims games that came out. And there was some amazing ones for the Sega Genesis. You know, Starflight, Star Control, but now you got Warp Speed. And Warp Speed, like some of the other games that Accolade released, just didn't hit that mark. It just really tried to be something more than it was. You have 7 different scenarios. You have a campaign with like 4 different parts to it. When you shoot, it's boring. Space just feels kind of empty. They could have done so much more with this game and they didn't. I was disappointed with it. I don't think it's a good game, but I think there's going to be some fans of it. And so I'm going to give it a C. I think it's trying to be a competent game. There might be some fans of it, but for me, it's not a game that I'm going to go back and play. It's average, but it's a C. Slow gameplay. Next up is my favorite Accolade release, and that's Zero Tolerance. Now, a lot of people thought that first-person shooters couldn't be done on the Sega Genesis, and this proved them to be wrong. This is an innovative first-person shooter, 3D environment, and you know, plays a lot like a Wolfenstein, and you know, it's got a lot going on. You have a small screen of gameplay with some stats, with a map, but I think it works. I like it. I think it's definitely worth going out and playing. Now, this has got a very unique feature that hardly anybody knows about. It has a link cable feature. That's right. If you have 2 copies of the game and 2 Sega Genesis consoles with 2 separate TVs or monitors, you can do System Link and play with another player. That is super advanced. I did a video showing this. It was one of the earlier videos I did on my channel, and I'm glad I did it. And so this is a wonderful title that gets overlooked. I do think it's a hidden gem, and I highly recommend it. It's an A for me. It's not perfect, but it deserves that, and it's the best I think that Accolade released on the Sega Genesis, and I highly recommend you to check it out. So that are the 18 releases, and you're like, wait a minute, they made other games. They did. So what they did is there was a subsidiary called Ballistic. I did a video on these games, and you can check it out. The link will be below. Also, though, Accolade took the Ballistic releases and did 6, and they re-released them as video game classics. And so there's 6 of those. The picture's there, and you can check those out. But those are all reviewed on a previous video. And that's it. That's my ranking for Accolade. Here it is, the total. And what did you think? There was some good, bad, and definitely ugly. And overall, Accolade definitely kind of falls in the middle. They had a lot of kind of average ranking games, but there are a few gems in there, and you might like some of the games more than me. Comment below, do you have any memories of these games? I'd love to hear it, and as always, thank you for the ongoing support. I do many other ranking videos. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you have a great day.